Hey guys, how you doing? Russ here, Ask the Wizard, almost daily unplugged. Hey, voice is pretty good today. A 100 years ago, I used to run. Not super long distance, but I ran 5K, 10K. What did I do? I did a 22, actually, so it was a half marathon, whatever that is. And I never, and I think it's maybe just my size and my lungs couldn't keep up with my size or something like that. So I was never fast. But one of my things was when I started running, that no matter how fast or how slow, I would not stop until I got to the finish line, whatever that finish line was. Whether it was and they were always fun runs and stuff like that, whether it was in something like that or whether it was just me. Believe me, there was times I was going damn slow. You could probably walk faster. But I decided I wasn't going to stop running. Once I started, I wasn't going to stop running. What would happen, probably often, I would think, is I would hit those spots where your lungs are hurting and and so what your body is telling you is we got to stop. We can't go on. We have to stop. And so then then my body would communicate to me through the voices in my head saying, okay, that we can't go on. It hurts too much. Don't have the air left. We can't go on. So what I would do, there was different strategies that I would do for the purposes of today. One of them was with my I am voice, right? So there's a whole variety of voices in your head. So when I say my body was speaking to you, that's your voice, but it's speaking to you, right? It's like, oh man, I can't go on, and my lungs hurt and my legs hurt and everything like this. Then there's your I am voice, I like to say. So it's first person, right? So I'm talking now, it's me, right? My soul, spirit, higher self, talking to these voices and saying you can't go on. And as I said, I had different strategies I would use. One of them was I would agree with them, but while I was agreeing with them, I kept running. And so I would say, yeah, it's right. Yeah, you're right. And I'd speak to him. You're right. I should quit. My legs hurt. My lungs, my lungs are hurting so bad, that type of thing. And you're right. We should quit. And this is too far and all that kind of, but while I was doing that, I kept running. And then before you know it, it's like you distract them. And before you know it, we'd ran another quarter mile. And then maybe another, probably it wouldn't take a long time, but then all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, we're still going. So then they would kind of quiet down and I would go some more. And then maybe they would come back, but that was one of the strategies I would use, is I would do the same thing. Yeah, you're right. Can't go on. This is stupid. Should stop. But I kept running while I was agreeing with the voices coming from my body that said you couldn't go on. So I chose what we were going to do. I tricked them, but I chose what we were going to do, not my body and not my mind. They were both screaming at me, stop, stop, stop. But my voice, your power voice, I chose what we were going to do. I told, in this case here, I tricked it, but I took control and decided I'm running anyway, even though my body was hurting, even though the voices were accurate in that, your lungs are hurting, all this kind of stuff. I mean, they were accurate, but my voice, my power voice, decided we're running anyway. And even though the pain maybe didn't stop, even though my lungs were still fighting me, I overrode those. And I said, we're going. And we kept going. And I got to the end, right? And oftentimes it wasn't very long before it's like my body and my mind, they came into alignment. So my mind and my body, mind, came into alignment with the choice, the decision I made, even though they didn't want to do it. When I took control over that and decided, I'm going anyway, no matter what, my mind and my body came into alignment. And I would leave and I'd feel like this surge of energy. And it's this crazy cool experience. I can remember often like the last, 100 yards or something like that. Everything hurts, can't breathe, but now you can see the finish line. And there's that moment. It's almost like a euphoria where you let go. And it's like all the pain and all your mind again. It's just like you transcend that. And I would essentially sprint the last 100 yards, even though before that I was just barely hanging on. And it's this amazing feeling, kind of like maybe the fire walk. You've heard me talk about the fire walk, because your body still hurts. Your mind's still freaking out. But it's almost like this euphoria that kicks in and you just flow right straight through the finish line. Okay, so there's that. Second piece, from a movie that I've quoted from before. See, all the smart people, they quote from books, I quote from movies, and sometimes songs, mostly movies. Movie called The Replacements. Gene Hackman, forgot where my mute button is on here, but anyway, Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves. The movie's about, it's an old movie, 2000 by the looks of it here. It's an old movie that the NFL's on strike and they bring in the replacement players. And so this is this replacement team that Gene Hackman put together that's just the most motley crew you could ever come up with. And they started to gel together as a team, and they made it, well, it's been out long enough, I'm sure everybody's seen it. They made it right through to the last game, and if they won this game, then they were in the playoffs. So as the movie goes, just before the last game, it was announced that the strike was over. And so basically these replacement players, this was their last game. And it was I think it was just before, right in the middle of this last game, the coach, Gene Hackman, Jimmy McGinty is his name. He says, listen up, by this time tomorrow, the strike will be officially over and you men will be out of a job. And they were playing Dallas. Up until now, Dallas hasn't been afraid of you. And they should be, because you have a very powerful weapon working for you. There is no tomorrow for you, and that makes you all very dangerous people. Okay. Do this when you can't go on. So my 2 points. The first one is, there's the love and light, and there's all these manifesting tools, and there's all this stuff that I've followed, I've practiced, and I've taught for 17 years. And at times it feels like none of them are working. Matter of fact, it feels like sometimes it's the exact opposite. At times, just like when I was running, but at least when I was running, it was a short period of time. Now it's days, weeks, months, years. That your body tells you you can't go on. Your body tells you like the pain, the how can we keep going? I don't think anything dark. It's not that at all. How can we keep going? And your mind does the same thing. And all the affirmations and all I found, and not all the time, all the meditations, it just doesn't seem to work. And it really feels like you can't go on. just like my body was telling me we can't go on. My mind was telling me we can't go on. And damn, they were accurate. But you, in the midst of all that, in the midst of all the evidence, in the midst of everything out here that confronts you to validate that, yeah, I can't go on. You have the greatest tool you have, the greatest tool I have is our will. Our will to decide that I don't care. I'm going on. Even though it feels like pulling from the movie, even though it feels like there's no tomorrow, I'm going on. I choose in the midst of all of this. I'm going to stand and I'm going to keep moving and I'm going to keep walking. Maybe if I can't believe, even if I can't believe anymore or right now, you can still choose. I can still choose to keep going and keep walking and to not stop. When I was running, my body desperately wanted to stop. My mind told me to stop. My will decided that we weren't. My will decided I'm going forward. Even when it feels like there is no tomorrow. And maybe the evidence out here tells you there is no tomorrow. Here's the thing. Even if there isn't, then decide to go forward anyway. Another movie, I can't remember what it was. It was a war movie, years and years and years old, but these soldiers, I can't remember, they went into this battle, and of course they were against all odds and everything, so they kind of come out, they ragged, and they were bent and busted, but they made it through, and they did it, and then of course they didn't get the accolades that they should have, because all the higher ups took all the accolades. They were just presented with the next job, the next impossible task that they had to do. And yep, that was good enough for them, because that's what they did. We go into the next one. Let all the other more important people take all the fanfare and, oh, look at us, how great we are. And we're the ones that did it. And what do? We're going to go into the next one. And I think that kind of fits into maybe my phrase, my anchor phrase that I received a long, long time ago, warriors in training. And I really believe it's our greatest power is our will, choosing, despite everything else, despite everything this says, despite everything this says, despite everything this says, you choose it. I'm going anyway. And even if there is no tomorrow, I'm going to walk into the no tomorrow. I'm going to walk into the no tomorrow. It's not going to find me cowering in a corner. It's not going to find me, I've given up. I will be standing and I will be moving forward. And I might not be moving forward fast, but I'm sure as hell not going to be laying down. I'm going to be standing up and I'm just going to keep going. So do this when you know you can't go on. Choose. And I know it's hard. If you knew, oh my goodness, if you only knew. But choose, because you have that power. And just choose that I'm not laying down. I'm going on no matter what. I will keep walking forward no matter what the outcome. I will keep walking forward. That is your greatest strength. And believe me, I know what it feels like to be in that spot where you feel like you just simply can't go on. Go on anyway. And everything is going to be against you on that decision, except for you and except for me. There's a Eminem song. I actually shared it, and I posted that this isn't the type of song that you would expect someone like me to share, but I shared it because it's kind of the way I feel. And one of the lines was, everybody take a stand, right? And everybody take my hand. And even though we don't know what the outcome is, we can decide that no matter what, we will keep going. We will keep going no matter what. We choose. We choose. We choose. We choose. Not because it feels good, not because anything else supports it, but because we choose to go forward. Thanks for tuning in, guys. My lungs held out pretty good, so that's good. Yeah, Ask the Wizard Unplugged. See you on the web.